The only way out was through the men sent to kill him. Blake Harrington had been in tight corners before, but this was different. Tonight, the walls of the Harrington Global Tower weren't just made of steel and glass. They were closing in. Downstairs, somewhere 15 floors below, the boardroom meeting had turned into a trap. Men with guns had come for him under the guise of a negotiation, their leader smiling while locking every exit on the floor. It had taken Blake years to learn how to read a room, but it took him only seconds to read this one. If he stayed, he wouldn't see the sunrise. The elevator bank was compromised. He knew that from the muted radio chatter he could hear on a hijacked security channel. The stairwells were worse. The moment he stepped into one, they'd bottleneck him. Choke points designed for exactly that. That left one option: the roof. A helicopter was already inbound, thanks to a last-minute encrypted call he placed under the table during the meeting, speaking in clipped, coded sentences to a pilot who owed him more than his life. The bird would land on the Harrington Tower helipad in exactly 6 minutes. 6 minutes to get from the 78th floor to the roof while armed men hunted him. 6 minutes to cross the open rooftop with a wind that would push the rain sideways and no cover except for the steel skeleton of the landing pad. And now, a new piece of information slid into place like the last bullet in a magazine. The helipad was already occupied. He had heard it in a whispered update over their comms. Target can't take the bird. Hold the pad. Which meant the only way off this building was through the men who were there to make sure he never left it. Blake didn't run immediately. Running was noisy. Running was desperate. Instead, he moved with precision, crossing the dim executive lounge toward the maintenance access corridor. The rain outside hammered against the angled glass walls like a drumline, masking the faint creak of the door as he slipped through. The service hallway was narrow, lit by sickly fluorescent lights that hummed faintly overhead. He checked his watch, 3:14 a.m. The helicopter would be overhead in less than 4 minutes now. The climb wasn't just about distance, it was about survival. Every corner could hide a gun barrel. Every door could swing open on a squad sent to intercept him. He kept his sidearm low but ready, his finger resting along the trigger guard, not yet on it. At the base of the final stairwell, he stopped, listening. Faint voices, 2 floors above. The tone was casual, but the rhythm was professional. Men trained to wait, trained to kill. He knew the type. He had hired their type before. Blake's mind flicked through options: surprise them, try to take them out quietly, or move fast and force them to react. Quiet meant time he didn't have. He started up the stairs, his shoes silent on the concrete. One flight up, a shadow shifted. Blake stepped aside just as a burst of gunfire tore through the air, ricocheting off the metal railing, showering sparks down the stairwell. He rolled into the cover of the landing, weapon up. Another burst followed, sharper, closer. He leaned just far enough around the concrete to fire back. 2 shots, tight grouping. A grunt answered from above. 1 man down. The other fired wildly, the shots cracking like whip cracks in the confined space. Blake counted the rhythm, then moved. 1 step, 2, then he surged upward, slamming the man into the wall with the full momentum of the climb. A sharp blow to the jaw, the pistol dropping to the floor, a final elbow strike to the temple, and the second guard went still. Blake retrieved the dropped weapon, pocketed it, and kept climbing. 3 minutes now. By the time Blake reached the roof access door, the storm had swallowed the city. Rain slashed sideways across the rooftop, driven by wind that howled like something alive. The helipad's skeletal steel frame loomed ahead through the darkness, its red perimeter lights smeared into blurs by the rain. Beyond it, the blinking navigation lights of the incoming helicopter carved arcs through the low clouds. But between Blake and that landing zone were 3 silhouettes, tall, broad, carrying carbines braced against their shoulders. Their posture said they weren't amateurs. Their weapons said they weren't negotiators. The wind tore at Blake's coat, plastering it against him as he crouched in the lee of the doorway. He could see their positions clearly now. 1 near the landing pad's access ladder, 1 pacing the far edge of the platform, and 1 standing dead center like a sentinel. Each was angled to cover a different approach. Overlapping fields of fire, perfect coverage. Blake checked the pistol in his hand, full mag, and the backup he'd taken from the stairwell fight. Not much for a war, but enough for a sprint. He exhaled once, slow and deliberate, letting the rhythm of the rain wash through his thoughts. The chopper's lights were brighter now, closer. He had seconds before it touched down, seconds before this became a crossfire he couldn't run through. He would have to break them before the bird arrived. The only way out was through the men sent to kill him, and the storm was about to decide which of them would still be standing when the rotor blades hit the roof. Blake stepped out from the shelter of the rooftop access and into the teeth of the storm. The rain was a solid wall, slamming into his face hard enough to sting, soaking his suit in seconds. His hair plastered to his forehead as he moved low, keeping his pistol close to his chest, letting his silhouette blend into the helipad's dark skeleton. The man closest to the access ladder spotted him first. A sharp movement, a flash of metal, and then the rapid thump-thump-thump of suppressed fire ripped across the space between them. The bullets hissed past Blake's ear and punched holes into the wall behind him. He dropped into a crouch, sliding across the slick rooftop to cover behind a generator housing. A quick glance around the corner told him what he needed. Ladder guard was shifting to close the distance. Center guard had his weapon up but hadn't fired yet, and pacing guard was swinging back toward the commotion. Blake popped up just long enough to squeeze off two tight shots. One hit the ladder guard high in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. The second snapped past his ear close enough to make him flinch. Blake used the moment to sprint, water splashing in sheets under his feet. The center guard reacted instantly, muzzle flash tearing through the night. Blake dove, rolled behind one of the steel beams holding the pad's structure. The chopper was closer now, its rotor wash starting to whip the rain into chaotic spirals, the sound a growing thunder that pressed against his eardrums. But it was still 30 seconds out, and 30 seconds on this roof felt like an eternity. The wind was shifting, the helicopter's approach pushing gusts down onto the roof and tilting the rain sideways into a torrent. Blake could feel the hum of the rotor blades in his chest now, but he knew the moment the chopper touched down, these men would close in, pin him, and finish the job before he could even reach it. He needed to break their line. Now. He ducked out from behind the beam and fired on the move, 3 quick shots forcing the pacing guard to duck behind a tool chest bolted to the platform. Using the distraction, Blake angled toward the center of the pad, splashing through puddles, boots slipping on the slick surface. The ladder guard was up again, favoring his wounded shoulder but still dangerous. Blake kept moving, dropped to one knee, and put a round clean through the man's thigh. He went down hard, weapon clattering away into the darkness. The center guard opened up fully now, his carbine spitting fire into the storm. Bullets sparked against the steel supports around Blake, sending shards of metal into the air. Blake slid behind a low storage box, feeling the vibrations of each hit rattle through the structure. He breathed once, slow, steady, then he leaned out and fired, not at the guard's center mass, but at the narrow strip of ankle visible beneath the cover. The man screamed, staggered, and fell back. Blake surged forward again, feeling the open rooftop stretch like an ocean between him and the chopper. The pacing guard had regrouped, stepping out, weapon braced. Blake didn't slow. He let the man line up his shot, then at the last moment cut left, diving behind a tall air duct as the guard's burst tore a line of sparks across the pad where he had been. 15 seconds now. The helicopter's lights were so bright they cut through the sheets of rain like search beams. He was close, but still in the kill zone. The helicopter was almost overhead now, the pounding of the rotors mixing with the roar of the storm until it felt like the whole world was shaking. The wind tore at Blake's coat, flapping it wildly as he crouched behind the air duct, the helipad's steel structure vibrating under the weight of the incoming aircraft. He could see the pilot's helmet glinting through the windshield, the side door already sliding open, a rope line swinging in the rotor wash. The last 2 gunmen weren't braking, they were adjusting. The pacing guard moved to flank him, while the center guard limped into a better firing position, their overlapping fields of fire now tighter, more lethal. If Blake waited, they'd pin him down completely. If he moved now, he'd have to move straight into their kill box. He drew a deep breath. Every muscle coiled. He switched pistols, sliding the spare into his right hand, one in each grip. He counted down in his head, 3, 2, 1. He burst from cover in a low sprint, firing both weapons in alternating bursts. The sound was drowned in the storm and rotor thunder, but the effect was immediate. Both men ducked, one's weapon dropping as a round punched through his forearm. Blake closed the distance in a blur, kicking the pacing guard's weapon away and shoving him into the steel frame with a crack of bone. The center guard fired wild, pain slowing him, his shots going wide into the rain. Blake returned 2 rounds center mass and the man crumpled. The pad was clear. He didn't slow, he couldn't. The helicopter's skid was just above head height now, the rope line swinging wildly in the gusts. Blake leapt, catching it with both hands, boots leaving the slick steel as he swung upward. The pilot lifted, the world tilting as the roof fell away beneath him. Below, the 2 still conscious gunmen were scrambling, one shouting into a radio, the other clutching his wound. Blake didn't care. The city was opening up beneath him, a storm-lashed sprawl of lights and shadow. He was alive. Barely. The only way out had been through the men sent to kill him, and now, as the helicopter banked away into the night, he was already thinking about the war this escape had just begun.